Everyone, welcome back to another camera comparison. Again, it was one that was requested a lot, and finally the embargo's dropped on this. So it is the OPPO Find X9 Pro up against the Vivo X300 Pro and the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra. So they're shooting in 4K 60 frames per second at the moment. Front-facing cameras do have autofocus across all three. So we've got, with the Vivo and the OPPO, 50 megapixels and 13 megapixels with the Huawei. Now I wanted to point out, with all the samples you're seeing, this is all auto mode. So with the video, it's all just the default settings. And when it comes to the camera stills I'll be showing later on, I will be using the natural profile, so natural colors, or original color. So natural with Vivo, the Zeiss preset, and then original with the two other phones. I'm swapping over the audio sources so we can listen to which one has the best microphones. It's a little bit windy here, so it's a good test of how those mics are going to handle the wind noise. So still keeping with 4K 60 frames per second, that's what all the video samples will be. The Vivo and the OPPO can shoot 4K 120, the Huawei cannot. That would be a limitation of the chipset. So right now with the ultra-wide cameras, they're using electronic image stabilization. Sun's just come out. In fact, I was waiting around for the sun to come out so we can get the best results here. You can see as I walk along, the electronic image stabilization across all three is doing a very good job. I'll swap over to the main cameras. So we have quite a difference of main cameras. In fact, the Huawei's got the biggest sensor. It's a 1-inch type. That's 50 megapixels, 50 and 50 on the other two. And what I want to do now is just go over to the optical zoom cameras, but then back again. I'm looking at the transition here. Which one has the smoothest transition? Because this is something that a lot of people seem to like, that when you swap over the cameras, that it has that iPhone-like transition here. So which one do you think is looking the best as I do that? So back to the main cameras again. Stability, just a bit of a jog down here. And now to look at our iron tower up here. So the sun is just to the right. And we got optical 3.7 times, 3.5 times with the Vivo, and 3 times with our OPPO. Take that up to now 10 times. In fact, it's 9.4 times optical, I believe, with the Huawei, but they round it up with a bit of digital zoom to make it 10. And 10 times now preset with the Vivo, 6 with the OPPO, so it has the weakest of the optical zoom cameras. But these two phones, the Vivo and the OPPO, do have the zoom extensions that you can add to them, that you can get an optional accessory that's going to be extending the zoom range there. So stability, I can see quite different across all three as I hold them. Finally back, let's go back to those main cameras. And a very slow pan around looking at this beautiful coastline here. Las Rotas, Denia in Alicante in Spain. And I'll try and pan just a little bit smoother. Ultra wides finally. Now let's go over to low light video performance. So I changed the spot compared to my last comparison. There were a few people that complained that it wasn't dark enough. Well, how about looking out into the ocean right now? Very dark, and over the other side we have, yeah, some street lights and whatnot, but we can pick up those reflections, which is good. Now the current cameras are the ultra wide. This is again 4K 60. So let's go over to the main cameras now and a bit of a walk. So this area is brighter, and as I look out across to the beachfront there, that reflection's looking really nice. But which one's capturing it the best? What I am going to focus on later in my analysis of this is the noise levels and just how smooth it is. And there shouldn't really be any wind noise either. The wind has died down now. So we'll go over to the optical. Well, with the Huawei, it's not its maximum, but 3.7 times optical, 3.5 and 3 with the OPPO. So 3.5 is with the Vivo, sorry. Looking at the other side there, just across from where the beach is. Back to the main cameras. And then another pan around and a very light jog. See which one handles low light video the best. And finally back to the ultra wides here. Alright, so over to our teleconverter kits here. I know it's not fair against Huawei, but let's just see how it compares. Does it even stand a chance? So when I have a look here at 400 millimeters, well, I'm trying to get 400 millimeters equivalent, And see, it's pretty similar there between the Huawei and the Vivo and the OPPO. Now, bear in mind, they've all got slightly different focal length equivalents, but I try to get it here to 1600 millimeters, and you can see that now the Huawei doesn't stand a chance. It's looking a little bit blurry. It's using AI to upscale things. And here, the white balance is quite different between the OPPO and the Vivo. Now, it's more like what the OPPO was showing. The Vivo is a little bit off, a little bit too blue. But look at the details. Very good. Yes, there's some AI upscaling, but still, this is phenomenal zoom out of those two cameras, the OPPO and the Vivo, with the tele extenders. Now, very close, but I think the Vivo won the last shot. But what about this? I've gone back now to 10 times optical. This is something that the Pura 80 Ultra can compete with. Now, when you look at the Pura 80 Ultra, it looks like it might be more detailed. In fact, it's applying, I think, just a little bit too much when it comes to over sharpening. I like the look of the Vivo because it's not sharpened up as much. Remember, when you over sharpen, there's no going back from that. The OPPO looks very good. Slightly different contrast between the two. So I would say that the Vivo and the OPPO here really a draw at 10 times zoom. In third place, the Huawei for the over sharpening. Photos of animals now, and the lovely Vera, who's been modeling for me now in the channel for about 12 years. So I did use the tele extenders here with the OPPO and the Vivo. The Pura 80 Ultra, I think, is the best shot. The white balance is the closest to what Vera's fur is really like. It's a little tad bit warm with the Vivo. The OPPO did an okay job with the white balance, but you can see Vera's fur is just a little bit overexposed. It's not getting all those different shades of the white of her nose. So I do like this time with the shot. I think that's the Huawei is the best here. And that's with no add-on teleconverter. Back to zoom, but this is not with the telephoto extender. So with the optical zoom, well, not maximum with the Huawei, but I have taken it to the 3.7 times, 3.5 with the Vivo, and 3 times with the OPPO. Cropped into 200% now, and I'm using the Zeiss natural preset and the original colors on the two other phones. You can see it's still very different. Now look at the OPPO. There's a little bit of noise there. Shadows are handled quite differently between all three. The Huawei's in last place. I don't like it. It's over-processed, over-sharpened, not looking so good there. For me, I think the winner is the Vivo. I then took the zoom to 10 times across all three, and that's almost a native optical 10 times with the Huawei. With its switchable lens, it's actually 9.4 times optical, so it's using the least amount of digital zoom. I like the Vivo. They haven't gone overboard with the sharpening. The colors are pretty much what I saw, but a little bit oversaturated the plants. So the colors on the Huawei, they were more like that. Not the sky, but the plants. And neither is a winner when it comes to trying to get the original colors. The Huawei, again, I think is a little bit too over-sharpened. The Vivo has a level of sharpness that for me, is a little bit overboard. Looking at selfies now. So this is using the portrait mode. I don't know what happened with the Huawei. I apologize for that. No background blur. But the Huawei has the best skin tones for me with this shot here. The Vivo a little bit off, the OPPO slightly whitened. They're all good shots. Stitching is good on the Vivo and the OPPO, and if you like taking a lot of selfies, they do deliver good results. Rare selfies using optical zooms, you can see that the skin tones again different, a bit warmer with the Vivo, maybe a more pleasant shot, a little bit of what seems to be like skin smoothing. Background blur on all three are good. The OPPO has the most blur here. And the skin tone's slightly off with the OPPO, but I like the fact with the Hasselblad optimization, it doesn't seem to be over-sharpened at least. The Huawei Pura 80 Ultra is looking good. It does take good portrait photos. Slightly whitened up skin tones, I've noticed. Then I did add the teleconverters for portraits, which can be used. So at the 200mm, just the base zoom level with the Vivo, looking good, but too warm. I don't really like this photo. I'd rather not use the extended zoom. The OPPO's looking good. Slightly different look to it. Not as warm as the Vivo, which is great. And the Huawei Pura, this is at 10 times. I'm just a bit overexposed. My daughter's face here, a little too white. So picking a winner, I would say for portraits here, because I find the Vivo overly warm, I'm going to go with the OPPO with this portrait using the teleconverter kit. Now, flowers, macro mode, and I use the default settings with this. So I either step back to get it in frame. Now, I like the OPPO. This has the most natural colors to me. And second to that would probably be the Vivo, but a little bit oversaturated. Now the Vivo shot looks excellent, and so does the Huawei's macro mode. I'm quite a fan of the Huawei macro mode. Again, now looking at this white margarita flower, I think it's the colors. The Oppo gets different shades of white quite well. The Vivo shot, very pleasant. It has saturated the purple color a little bit too much, and the Huawei also looking excellent. So all three of these phones take fantastic macro or super macro shots. It's really down to personal preference here. I would say they're very, very similar, but if you want the more natural colors here for macro shots, I would go with the Oppo. Back to the main cameras here. So all three look excellent, take great main camera shots. Very good sensors, good processing. If I was to separate these, it would be down to the HDR. So the cloud's a little bit overblown on the Pura 80 Ultra. The Vivo captures the sky, I think, the best, and that weird looking cloud formation, but the pave is on the Vivo most accurate color. So the Zeiss natural preset, with colors has pulled through here. The Vivo gets the win clearly. From that same position, I decided to zoom into the castle, and you can see that the shots now, colors seem to be a little bit more saturated with the Vivo, with the zoom camera. The Huawei colors are looking a little bit more true to life. It doesn't seem to be quite as sharp as the other two, even though it does have the most optical zoom using the built-in cameras, not using the tele extenders. And then the Oppo is also good. Now, aside from the colors, I like the Vivo shot the best, but probably, maybe second, I'd say the Huawei, and third, the Oppo. That's no surprise because the Oppo does have the weakest of the optical zoom at 3 times. Over to ultra-wide cameras now. So for the field of view and just being the widest, which is the whole point of an ultra-wide, Huawei is the best here because it's 13 millimeters. However, out of these two examples I'm showing you now, the colors are a little bit off. Even though it's the original color preset, it's a little bit too saturated, a bit of over-sharpening happening. The Oppo is good. Colors are not quite what I saw. The Vivo has the most accurate colors here. I like the fact that it's the least over-sharpened, it seems, out of these three phones. Right, over to low light now, and I'm starting out with the ultra-wide cameras. So the Oppo is just a little bit too bright, a bit overexposed. The Vivo's okay, but the color's more correct, and I feel slightly more details with the Huawei. Now using the main cameras, colors the most correct with the Huawei. We have over here like orange street lights, and that's kind of what it should look like. It's handled that La Pasada del Mar sign a little bit better. And then going to 10 times zoom, they're very good. Now, I feel that the Huawei's just a tad bit over-sharpened, but if you look at those bricks around the window, it's capturing slightly more details, and inside, slightly more details. Even if it is a little bit over-sharpened here, I think it's the Huawei that is the best out of these three phones. Now I've gone over to a darker area, and the Vivo, I'm not a fan of this. It just looks a bit too artificial. The sky was not like that. It's more a little bit like the Huawei, although the sea wasn't that color. The night sky, probably the best on the Oppo, but it's still not actually that good. And then taking the Oppo and the Vivo to the optical zoom max on 3.7 with the Huawei, we can see the Vivo, yeah, okay, now it looks good. Although the sky has a bit of a green tint to it, so none of them are amazing here. It's very difficult conditions. Taking that zoom now to 10 times, you can see the Vivo is the best, the clearest, but the sky's still this kind of weird greeny tint to it. Not good. The Oppo has a bit of noise and a bit of blur, and the Huawei's a bit blurry as well. So out of these three, yes, picking a winner, the Vivo, but I hope they can fix that sky so it's not green. In this scene, they all do quite well to capture the warm lights we use here and they have in Europe, and I don't like the way the lights are handled with the Huawei Pura. I think this shot, the Vivo's in the lead. But with this particular scene here, the Vivo showing its 1-inch type sensor, it's definitely got a lot of potential, and the variable mechanical aperture. Look at the tree in the background. Look at the way the light bulb itself is captured. It's the best out of these three here. You can't deny that. Okay, sure, the light does have a bit of a weird glow around it, and the Oppo is great the way it did capture the sky being black like that. It's what it should look like, the sky. Speaking of skies, you can see with the Oppo and the Vivo in this particular scene that it's a little bit patchy and it doesn't look amazing. Now, if we focus on the restaurant here, I think the Vivo overall captured everything the best. The colors are the most true to life. The Pura is also very good, a little bit too brightened up, but there was that warm light to everything. And I do like the way the Pura has handled the sky. It should be black like that. It shouldn't have a strange blotchiness to it. It shouldn't look green or have some other tint. Nope, it's looking black there. While it is the brighter shot out of the three, it's the one I prefer. But again, if you're looking for more natural, more accurate colors, the Vivo is the best with this scene. So it's that time for me to recap my findings here. So I'll start out with what was very easy, and that is audio quality. The Vivo's got disappointing microphones. The Oppo, I felt, was the richest sounding, more susceptible to wind a little bit more than the Huawei. But overall, I think for sound, mic quality, the Oppo was the best here. And they need to learn something from Samsung. Samsung mics are the best when it comes to Android phones filtering out wind noise. Anyway, vlog quality. Okay, video is a bit different here. I think, okay, the Vivo looks a bit contrasty. I think a little bit over the top. Now, it's personal preference, I know, but I think the Oppo was the best for the vlog video footage. When it came to rear cameras, however, stability, the Vivo seemed to have it. And while the Huawei wasn't too bad, neither was the Oppo, I'm going to give the win there for the rear video to the Vivo. Zoom video, that was the Vivo, and if you use the tele converter kit, the Oppo is also very good. The Vivo video, while I think it was the best with the zoom, the stability, it sometimes had a bit of a hit and miss focus, however. For portraits and selfies, now this was close. I think the Vivo, although I still feel they have a little bit of work to do when it comes to the skin tones, it's looking a little bit warm. When you use the tele converter kit, the Vivo was quite warm then. The Oppo, I do like the way they make the shot look a little bit softer. Again, I think the Oppo needs a bit of work too as well. And the Huawei just brightening things up a little too much with the selfies. Well, especially the portraits. Then stills in general, very hard for me to judge. I mean, super macro, they were all very good. I'd probably give the edge to, with the macro shots, the Vivo, but only just. And okay, colors. Vivo normally with the colors has the best, but not always. The Huawei, when it was more like low light conditions, then the white balance to me was more correct. Low light on the Huawei is very good. Low light zoom went to the Vivo. That was slightly ahead of everyone else, although they've got some work to do with the sky optimization, as I pointed out. And all up, I mean, these three phones, they're very good, but I'd have to rate. I think the Vivo's pulling ahead. Second would be the Oppo. Third place, the Huawei. But then it depends on the low light performance. So it could be a second there too as well. Maybe a draw with the Oppo. Do you agree with my findings? Remember, a lot of this is subjective. So bear that in mind. And thank you so much for watching this camera comparison.